Okay, let's preface this a minute. Considering how lukewarm the reception was for Jurassic Park 3 back in 2001, was it really that much of a surprise that the franchise got halted for 14 years? Okay, it's not just me then.
There had been ideas during that time that would have seen a fourth movie that would have had human-dinosaur hybrids that would have had military applications, which is just ridiculous on the face of it, as how is that Jurassic Park?
I think it's like anything in life. You have to wait for the right story and concept to present itself before resuming the story.
And it does seem to be the most logical choice to go with, the idea of what if the dream became a reality.
The whole point of John Hammond's vision was to have a fully operational theme park where everyone in the world would have the right to enjoy these animals.
Sure, you could make the argument that in the first movie he was also doing this as a means of making some serious capital. But if you have an island resort where you're able to showcase these animals, it's a no-brainer moneymaker. Try saying that 3 times fast. We've seen over time from video games like Jurassic Park Operation Genesis and at the end of Jurassic Park on the Sega Game Gear, where the end result was to get the park up and running. This is something that the audience had longed for.
And who wouldn't?
Since the advent of Jurassic Park in 1993, fans have dreamt about seeing a real-life version come to life and being able to witness these long-extinct natural marvels. After the success of 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Universal approached Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver to write the story that would be the revival of the Jurassic Park franchise, and with Steven Spielberg hand-picking Colin Trevorrow to direct the next installment, the stage was set for the return to Isla Nublar for the first time since 1993.
Well then, for the 5th anniversary, let's go back to the park. The pacing of this movie is consistent. It ever rarely slows down, even when there's no action scenes.
Right off the bat, I think the only characters in this flick that feel genuine are Owen and Claire, as there seems to be actual substance, in a similar vein to Sam Neill's Alan Grant and Laura Dern's Ellie Sattler. Simon Masrani feels like a warm character, sharing similar ideals with John Hammond in wanting people to appreciate the dinosaurs of Jurassic World. But I got this sense that his presence didn't feel as big as the leading male and female roles. Some aspects of the movie I didn't like was focusing more on the kids' lives of what was going on outside of the park with their parents getting divorced that I felt was completely pointless.
And speaking of their parents...
I know it hurts, sweetheart.
Are you gonna be okay?
Oh wow, that wasn't condescending at all. I hope you get eaten. Damn it. Better go break the news to her. Sorry, Rexy, it doesn't look like you get to eat them. Alright. I know. Look, I hear Sam Witwicky and his folks are nearby. Oh, don't give me that look, you're all thinking it too.
It's true. We are.
Some have heavily criticized the idea of taking genetic meddling to the next level by creating the Indominus Rex. A mix of T-Rex, Velociraptor, Cuttlefish, and Tree Frog.
What? Oh, wait. Let me see if I got this straight. This Frankensteinosaurus has the ability to camouflage? Huh. Well, that'll be dangerous if it ever gets out. Well, imagine my shock.
Jokes and snark aside, this is probably one of the few plausible scenarios they could have gone with in evolving the story. Because they had used the scenario of the park going wrong, trying to take the animals off the island, and then the everyman returning to the island, so what was left?
And it's a similar situation with the Velociraptors in this picture, because they're portrayed less as the villains, and more of an in-between.
Owen training the raptors to obey commands in the same way as dogs in the armed forces to work with humans is intriguing, as I don't think that's been thought of before in the story. And for context, Owen does not have complete control over them, as they're still wild animals that would so much as eat you if you put one foot wrong.
Well, that's one way to get chewed out. What? I didn't hear you come up with anything better. What can I say? I just have better taste for it.
Oh, come on, bruh. Really? It's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?
They have a small amount of restraint in the scene where he rescues the park feeder as they recognize he's their pack leader, yet at the same time view him as food. The scene with him riding through the jungle on his motorbike amongst them was both awesome and ridiculous at the same time. Because again, these are wild animals that in reality wouldn't give a moment's hesitation in looking at him as Dino Chow.
And another few scenes that I found just as ridiculous was the Raptor Squad conversing with the I-Rex.
Greetings.
Hello, what are you?
A original fan character source, but you can call me Asa. Kill them or no people burgers.
No people burgers? You monster!
Look, if the script ain't gonna take itself seriously, then why should you?
Well put.
Look folks, I'm no mechanic, but I'm fairly sure you can't get a Jeep to start up again after it's been left to rot for 22 years.
Furthermore, adding to the ridiculous levels of this movie was the T-Rex from the original Jurassic Park now taking on the I-Rex. This felt more like a situation of Optimus Prime taking on Megatron from the 2007 Transformers movie. While it's still exciting to watch, it feels out of place in the tone of what took place from the original trilogy, where it was more realistic of portraying them as animals, as opposed to movie monsters. Although, suffice to say, the fight between the young Rex and the Spinosaurus from Jurassic Park 3 was more plausible than this. I do like the fact that the producers acknowledge what a terrible decision it was to kill off the JP3 T-Rex, as Rexy smashes through the Spinosaurus skeleton as the Queen looked to reclaim her throne. And doing this with the aid of Blue the Velociraptor that was the only surviving member of the Raptor Squad, as Echo, Charlie and Delta had been killed earlier in the movie by the I-Rex and the military. It just seems such a weird contrast with a Velociraptor and T-Rex working in tandem with each other, whereas 22 years prior the two would have done battle to the death. Suffice to say, Rexy did okay after an assist from an unlikely ally in Blue, as she had recovered from a blow from the I-Rex. But taking into consideration that Rexy had less to exercise in her enclosure since 2002 when she was recaptured, and she wasn't exactly at the top of her game anymore. However, she could still go.
Okay. Nice working with you. You're not going to eat me, right? Do I look like I'm ready to go again? Ugh, kids these days.
Okay, let's wrap this up. The movie plays with some interesting ideas, but they leave a lot to be desired with regards to execution. Because the elements of this movie feel like they belong in a Michael Bay picture, and not Jurassic Park.
I feel like Chris portrays Owen as a modern-day version of Alan Grant and Ian Malcolm fused together. He has the ethical concerns of Malcolm, but he also has the curiosity of Grant in that he wants to learn more from the animals. It's an interesting concept to have him as an animal behaviorist or even a raptor whisperer, in the same manner of Kevin Richardson on YouTube, who is able to have a coexisting relationship with lions in which they treat him as one of their own. This lady has come a long way since portraying the first ever live-action Gwen Stacy in 2007's Spider-Man 3, and notably the only one to have lived thus far.
Bryce puts on a great performance as somebody who goes through her own evolution and character building arc as she's humbled by the dinosaur's beautiful and fragile existence as the park's operations manager.
Ah, Mr. Kingpin. I know some have criticised his performance in this movie as less than credible when compared to his role on Daredevil, but this is where I disagree. I find he turns in a good portrayal as a metaphor of the arrogance of man when he really tries to sell Owen on the idea of using the Velociraptors for military purposes. I'm probably one of the very few that actually liked his character. He has that same wide-eyed innocence when seeing the park for the first time and getting to enjoy what the first child attendees in Lex and Tim never got to experience. Oh, I so wanted this guy to get eaten. His arrogant and neglective attitude towards his brother Gray was just insufferable, as he seemed more interested in chasing tail than enjoying the park with him.
What do you think's gonna happen from you just staring at them?
About the only times he redeems his character is when he saves Gray and himself from being eaten by the I-Rex, and how he comforts him in the Mercedes van, but aside from that, he's a fairly forgettable character.
For the limited screen time that he has, the late Khan makes Simon Masrani feel warm, considerate, and idealistic, and he shares the late John Hammond's dream of making the park a reality. Okay, question from the crowd right here. When did the unassuming lead geneticist from the original Jurassic Park become a mad scientist 22 years later, making this movie resemble more the island of Dr. Moreau?
BD Wong is the only returning actor from the original movie, and you'd swear with the way he's performing that they were two different people. Now, on the one hand, very few are the same after a 22-year gap. That's a given. But even then, I don't think Wu would have gone from being a brilliant mastermind scientist serving Hammond's vision to becoming a Frankenstein scientist and creating a new hybrid dinosaur from a T-Rex, a Velociraptor, a cuttlefish, and an Amazonian tree frog. Now, I'll be fair, he sells his performance well with what he's given. I just think the material he was given would have been better suited to a new character. Aside from being the Mitchell brothers' babysitter, she really serves no purpose in the movie. Also, I felt her death was extremely harsh and undeserving. The visual effects for these movies have come on leaps and bounds since the original, even though the CG for that movie still looks convincing today. The dinosaurs look more photoreal than ever, especially when you have close-up shots of Claire beneath the T-Rex, or to when Owen is face-to-face with Blue and you can see the small details on her skin.
I like how this movie didn't abandon the practical side of special effects, as Owen and Claire share a very tender scene with a dying apatosaur after the I-Rex had slaughtered it and many others in the field, killing them for sport and not for food.
And in some cases, they used motion capture actors to record movements into computers as a point of reference to animate the animals, as opposed to previous movies where they would have taught the computer to animate the animal frame by frame. That is a bonus in the advances with movie technology in the last 10 years, is taking the most difficult task of animating their movements and replacing it with motion capture, because all that is required is to then paste the raptor appearance over them, which is probably less time consuming by comparison. Also, it makes it easier for the actors, because they're not having to use their imagination to something that won't be there until post-production. The attention to detail on the T-Rex was impressive when you see her at the end of the movie at the top of the hill on the helipad, surveying her territory and bearing the scars from her fight with the Velociraptors in 1993. Michael Giacchino had a mammoth task on his hands in living up to what John Williams had done 22 years ago. He brought the atmosphere to the story of Jurassic Park in creating themes that were suspenseful, daring, driving, that were similar to that of horror movies, but also still having pleasant numbers that reminded us why we love the Jurassic Park movies in the first place, especially when Williams' theme of Jurassic Park is used when the boys arrive at their hotel room. While the writing could have been refined in making it more like the tone of the original movies and less like the thoughtless Hollywood action movie, the score shines effortlessly, and it's not hard to see why Michael was a worthy successor to John Williams. Considering that John is viewed as one of the masters in the industry from his work on Jaws, Indiana Jones, Superman, and Jurassic Park, to be talked about in the same breath of him is not only difficult, it's also a badge of honor. The movie grossed a profit of $1.6 billion against a budget of $150 million, making it the first Jurassic Park movie to do so since the original, which took in over $1 billion at the box office. But then adjusted for inflation would be $1.8 billion today. So despite Jurassic World taking $1.6 billion, the original is still more profitable after inflation. And this even surpasses Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom's result of $1.3 billion. It brought the franchise back to prominence after being inactive for 14 years and began a new trilogy that continued into 2018's Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, marking the 25th anniversary of the original, with the dinosaurs being rescued from the island as Isla Nublar was set to explode, paying homage to the original novel when it was napalm bombed. That movie received more criticism than Jurassic World for not only giving Blue a blood transfusion from Rexy, but also introduced another hybrid in the Indoraptor that was half Indominus Rex and Velociraptor. Which, there's a gaping plot hole in that, as the I-Rex had genes from the T-Rex and Velociraptor, so therefore making it more Raptor?
Oh, but we're not done with the ridiculous levels yet. No sir.
I think the most absurd thing was seeing Ripper, as named by Altiori, smiling when the Merc was trying to pick his teeth as a trophy. Had this been a cartoon on the level of Looney Tunes, then I would have accepted it. But considering the Jurassic movies had a credible level of realism, then to see it devolve to this was disappointing.
That's all, folks.
Also, to tie in with the silver anniversary, Frontier Games released the first Jurassic Park console park builder game since Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, that was continuing the canon from Jurassic World in Jurassic World Evolution, in which you're an unnamed operations manager looking to build parks on the islands known as the Five Deaths, including Isla Sorna, and working your way back to Isla Nublar as a reward for making the parks a success. The game was praised for its authenticity and having the inclusion of Jurassic Park legend Jeff Goldblum, as he reprised his role as Dr. Ian Malcolm, not seen since the Lost World Jurassic Park in 1997. It even had a DLC package in which the player could return to Jurassic Park and rebuild the theme park just days after the accident, which also included the facilities of the Ford Explorer cars touring the island. This also saw the return of Sam Neill and Laura Dern reprising their roles as Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Ellie Settler, respectively.
Since 2015, the movie has been enjoyed on DVD, Blu-ray, and now 4K. I'm MJ Knight, and we went back to Jurassic World. Spared no expense. Let's preface this a minute, if we may. Considering how lukewarm Jurassic Park 3 was in 2001, is it really that of a... Let's try that again without getting tongue-twisted. First line, and it's blooper territory already. But such is the series as real features. I would go and say keeping it real, but really? Blooper 1 already. Well, for the 5th anniversary, why don't you rub my hands out? I might get CM Punk taking on a T-Rex. Well, there's a WWE match I never thought would happen. CM Punk, the straight edge superstar, versus, I don't know, Stone Cold Rexy. Oh no, now I got this image of Rexy breaking out the T-Rex paddock and Stone Cold Steve Austin's music just plays. Now I got this image of Rexy coming out in a pickup truck with Austin's, vest and what have you. Oh god. I want a picture of that. Someone make that happen. Ah, damn it. Sorry, Rexy, doesn't look like you get to... I wonder how Rexy would feel I get my lines wrong. She's like trying to fold her small arms best as possible. It's like, look, buddy, this is the 37th take now. Why'd you keep screwing this up? I've got raptors to go eat. Aren't they your co-stars? Yeah, but I get paid more than them. How so? Good agent. Well, Ah, damn it. Sorry, Rexy. Doesn't look like you get... Ah, damn it. Sorry, Rexy. It doesn't look like you get to eat them. Oh, alright. I know. I'm too. Ooh, no. Can't have that. That's a blooper. Here's the thing. I'm not a mechanic, but I'm pretty sure you can't get a Jeep to start. Why'd I say Jeep? I didn't realize we were going into a Gorillaz music video. Now I just have this image of the Gorillaz on Isla Nublar in Murdoch's Jeep running away from the T-Rex and then having the T-Rex in the mirror like, objects are closer than they appear. Knowing Murdoch, he'd probably look at the T and think, I'm gonna eat it! Damon Albarn and the team that make Gorillaz, if you're watching this, make that happen. Seriously.